Welcome to worship at the McPherson Church of the Brethren. We are an open and affirming congregation that strives to be hospitable and attentive to all of creation. We do not always meet that goal, and we have our share of ups and downs. But in the midst of it all, we continue to listen to God's call on our individual lives and the life of this congregation. We continue to seek to follow Jesus peacefully, simply, together. We're humbled you've chosen to worship with us. Welcome.
Good morning, church. My name is Ann Stover, and I'm here to greet you on this wonderful Sunday morning. It's hot. It's still hot out. We were hoping for cool air this morning as we opened the garage door, but not to be. It is July in Kansas. So I'm so glad that you're all here, and we welcome people who are watching on Channel 13 here in town, and on YouTube also. If you're ever stuck at home, watch on YouTube. It's really good. So I want to first of all say that I think we have some pictures sent by McPherson from Estes Park. And here's Eric without warning. He didn't know I was going to say this, so maybe he can get those up for us. This is from worship service this morning at Estes Park. There they are. Look at all of those young people. Nope, no other one. Okay. Let's be in prayer for them as they celebrate God's world in the wonderful Rocky Mountains of Colorado for about 4 days. They'll be back on Thursday. I want to just bring to your attention that this weekend is district conference, and I strongly encourage you to come. I know that when you live locally, you want to just stay home and come just when you want to. But I'd like to say that the agenda, the itinerary for the 2 days is full of lots of things that you want to be here for. So I'm going to draw two things to your attention. The first is that usual district board or leadership team, as we call it now, That report on Friday afternoon is boring, and most people wish they had stayed home. But because of Lowell's efforts, we have a show planned for you. So we hope that you'll come and hear what the district is doing and hear our message to you. The other thing that I want to draw to your attention is that at lunch on Saturday will be the live auction for sweet support. And I want you to come ready to buy something. Bring a basket if you can, if you'd like to contribute. This is one that was brought by Charlotte Lowen. It's full of consumables, things that you can take home. Temporarily, you'll find a place in your cupboard, but you're going to use it. So it doesn't have to hang on your wall or go into a cupboard. So you can make a basket if you'd like and contribute that to the sweet support. So now I'm done talking. Does anybody else have an announcement that they would like to make? Oh.
I'm Karen Hoke, and last week I asked for prayers for my son because he had had a heart attack the week before. He is doing very well. The doctor has given him permission to bike as long as his heartbeat doesn't get higher than 90. He can't lift weights and he can't mountain climb, but he's allowed to do a lot of different things. And his deep fatigue has gone away. They've adjusted his medication, so he is doing very well. I thank you for your prayers and your concerns.
While I wait for another hand to go up, I'd like to say to Blaine and Nancy, happy 44th anniversary. They blew the transmission in their car yesterday to celebrate. Anybody else? Okay, let's prepare our hearts for worship.
Go ahead. Sorry about that. I'm here, Moment in Mission, representing Outreach. I'll be Vanna. You'll be, oh, congratulations. Okay, and are you going to display this? Basically, what I'm going to say, he's going to display up there. The other one first, probably. Okay. Last year, Outreach started in after Christmas, trying to find ways that we can show McPherson College students that we care about them and that we're a church that has a lot of interest in how they are doing. And we, before then, had just done it through meals for the athletes that were here at Christmas. So last year after Christmas, we really started a lot of new ways that we can reach out to the students. So now it's July and we're going to start to get everything ready for the whole new year. So these are the things that we're going to do, and there's a sign in the back of the church on one of the little windows that's by the table where people put stuff that will say the same thing, but I'm going to go through it so that you can maybe have a better understanding of some of the opportunities that they're going to be to volunteer. Outreach organizes, but the people of the church are the ones that do the volunteering and the work. First of all, last year, we started having an effort to drive kids that needed a ride to and from the airport at Christmas, spring break, and a little bit at the end of the school year. I think we gave over 20 rides last year. So we're going to do that again. This year, we're going to make we're going to try to do it a little bit differently. After you give me your contact information, I will share that with McPherson College Student Affairs, and hopefully they will be the ones that get a hold of you and match you up with a student that needs a ride. We have a whole bunch of these signs that McPherson College made, and that's for you to take in the airport to identify yourself as a safe person to get a ride with. We do the same thing in CDS when we go to volunteer for emergency disasters. We are always looking for the Church of the Brethren CDS sign. So it's kind of the same idea. Even in Little Wichita, Kansas, or Salinas, sometimes kids are hesitant to go with someone that they are not sure if they're the right person there to get a ride from. The next one is hosting. We had about 6 kids that were international kids last year that were hosted through volunteers in our church. So we are hoping that we will have even more this year, but we're starting that effort again, this time hopefully with Student Affairs, helping really make a good match where the students feel welcome by inviting us to campus for that first meeting. Last year, it was kind of like all up to you and the students to arrange that first meeting. We're hoping that this year they'll arrange some type of a gathering of the volunteers who are going to be hosting the international kids. Also, we're going to encourage the kids to come in pairs. Hopefully that will make them a little bit more comfortable in meeting with a stranger. Other than that, what you do is what you and the students want to do. Some kids just want to go to your home and do whatever it is that American people do for entertainment, play games. They might want to go out to eat. They might want you to come to some of their activities. So other than that, we'd like you to meet with them once a month and come up with things that you'd like to do that are just of interest to you. Meals. We have always done meals, but starting last year, we were really more intentional in making sure that every team that is here over Christmas and over spring break, when there's no food service, that we will give them one homemade meal. So it's a lot of work, but it has really, really been very beneficial in helping them feel warm, and they really like having something homemade. Most of those kids are having to eat carry out through that whole time because there's no food service. So they like having a homemade meal. Then the thing that we added to it is we asked people from the church who like to just sit and visit with the kids to also volunteer to do that. So there's 3 different ways that you can volunteer for the meals. You can help make the meal, you can help serve the meal and clean up, and you can volunteer to just sit at a table and visit with kids. The next thing that we did last year in the spring, and we're not sure when we'll do it this year, but at least once a year, we would like to continue a tradition of having a reception table, coffee and cookies at fine arts events. Last year we did music. This year we're hoping to expand that a little bit. So any ideas that you might have in any of the fine arts programs, let us know, let Outreach know. Same idea, reception table at the end of an event. And then the caring closet. So last year, the kids had a little cupboard that they called the caring closet. It literally was a little cupboard. They wanted a room. And the caring closet is a pantry where they can go and get free supplies. It's actually Paul Hoffman's old office in the bottom of the basement, so it's a small room. But we put in really nice, sturdy shelving. And we also told them that we will commit to buying them a refrigerator once they find the space and put the correct outlet in. We'll do that too. Otherwise, the student government is the group that shelves the caring closet. And perhaps in the spring, if they have run out of resources, we will also try to help them keep that going. It is a very confidential place for students to go. There's a little curtain before you go into it so that it's open all the time and yet private all the time. And students can go and get hygiene products, food, clothing, you name it, things that they just don't have the extra cash for. Okay. In the back of the room, so now you can go to, yeah. This is the form, just like last year, only more stuff on it. So this is the form that we need you to fill out if you want to be a volunteer for any of those things, and they're all itemized on the form, so you just check what you want to do. If you and your spouse want to fill in one together, that's okay. Just put your name by the ones that you want. Like if you want one thing, but your spouse wants something else, just put that on the form on the line. So we have the different parts of helping with a meal, 2 different ways to be a driver. We're going to try something new. International students, new to international students who have maybe never even been in the country before, can struggle with figuring out how to get the things that they need at Walmart. So you could volunteer to be a driver to take one or more international kids to Walmart and shop for their supplies. They have the money, but they might not know exactly what some of those things on that list mean. It's the first time we've done this, so the only thing I ask Student Affairs to do is please, you guys arrange as best you can a time and a place to meet. We'll pick you up. We'll take you there, we'll help, we'll bring them back. But we didn't really want to have to figure out how to organize several international students for one pickup. So we'll try to make it so that it's efficient for you, because it's probably going to be an hour excursion for you or more. Don't worry about the language. We'll figure it out. Then the other driving would just be what we did last year for Christmas and spring break, and a few rides we did at the end of the school year. Okay, and then the hosting. So I've already explained the hosting, but that's the last one. Did I cover everything? So the only thing I would ask of all of you is if you volunteer and you run into any snags, just please go ahead and let me know, because this will be the first time that on some of these things we've asked McPherson College Student Affairs to take over the managing of it. So if you have any problems, things aren't working quite right, just let me know, and then I'll communicate with them anything that we need to do to kind of make it run smooth. Okay, so the form is in the back. There's also a box for the carrying closet that you can just put stuff in if you want to make donations to supplies for the carrying closet. There are little slips of paper that tell some of the supplies that are needed in the carrying closet. There's also a slip of paper called welcome baskets, and they had mentioned that it would be nice if they had help providing supplies for new international students, and they want to make welcome baskets with it. So that's something you can also put in the box. I think that's it.
Can we just say thank you to Tina and Outreach?
You are the love of each living creature. You are the warmth of the rising sun. You are the brightness of the moon at night. Dwell with me in love. You are the strength of the waves of the ocean. You are the life of the growing earth. You are my health. You are my peace. Dwell with me in love.
Thank you so much, Van Nossels. Please join with me in speaking our opening responsive words. We gather, woven together by a single purpose and called to reflect God's image in our unity. We are all connected, bound by grace, and working together as one. We do not walk this path alone, nor do we labor in isolation. We stand shoulder to shoulder, neighbor to neighbor. Side by side we labor, and friend with friend we share the journey. In this sacred fellowship, there is no greater or lesser, no hierarchy of worth, for we are all called to mutual respect. We stand as equal partners, honoring the dignity of every soul. The Creator poured out diverse gifts among us, unique perspectives, varied talents to enrich our collective work. We blend our skills, weaving our unique strengths into a beautiful tapestry of service. And we look beyond our own ambitions, and we fix our eyes on the horizon of hope and healing that love demands. Together, we seek to fulfill God's purposes in our communities and across the earth. May our hands be steady, our hearts be open, and may our collaborations be a living testament to the kinship of all creation. Let us work together in peace, equality, and love. Please rise and join together in singing, "In Christ There Is No East or West." Please be seated, and as you are seated, will the children please come forward for a time with Barbara?
Hey, ooh, how are you? I like that snazzy hat. Thank you. Kind of tipped over, didn't it? Okay. Hey, how are you? Good. Okay, I think we got a couple more coming. Hey, girls. You gonna come listen? All right.
This is my sister, McKenna.
McKenna, I'm so glad that you're joining us today. You want to come sit with us? You can sit with your sister. You want to sit here? No, you can stand there if you want to. You want to stand? Okay, that's good. Well, good. All right. Everybody still having a good vacation? Yeah, yep. So for vacation, she's not real sure about this. You want to stay with us? Yeah, you can stay with us. So this year, our family did something a little bit different. Hang on a second, let me talk, okay? A little bit different vacation. We took our kids and our grandkids all on one big vacation. And we went to Florida to stay at the beach. And close to the beach was Disney World. Okay, have you ever been there before? No? Have you been there before? Nobody? Okay. So at Disney World, you know, you've got the castle. Okay. And it is kind of tradition that you take a picture in front of the castle. So we took a picture of Bruce and myself and our kids and our grandkids in front of the castle. And then a couple weeks after we got back, Bruce got a package in the mail, and one of our sons had made the picture into a puzzle. Bruce is still working on the puzzle, so I could not bring it today. But I brought the box that the puzzle comes in, okay? And this picture is very important to me. It's very special because it has everybody in it, the whole family. So when I look at that puzzle that Bruce is still working on, he has all the family there, but I got to thinking how each piece in that puzzle was different and how everybody in our family was different. If you look at a puzzle piece, some have straight edges. We have 4 corners, right? And some we've got these little bumpy things that go all over the place.
And some we have.
Yep. And all of the colors are kind of different. But somehow they all fit together, right? And if they didn't all fit together, would your puzzle work? No, it would not work. Also, I hate to do puzzles when there's pieces missing. In fact, if I find a puzzle and I start it and I realize at the end that there is a piece missing, I don't ever make that puzzle again. In fact, I just get rid of it. Okay? Because my puzzle isn't whole if something is missing in it. And I think about Eli, who's 9, and if we didn't have Eli in our family, we wouldn't be able to watch his movies that he's making. He's really into making movies now on his dad's phone. Or Maddie, do you know we have someone in our family named Maddie? Yeah. And we wouldn't be able to listen to her tease us because she loves to tease. Or Morgan, if we didn't have Morgan in our family, if she was an empty hole in our puzzle piece, we wouldn't be able to listen to her dance and sing. And then Josie, the last one, if we didn't have Josie, we would not be laughing nearly as much when she makes her silly faces. Everyone in our family is so important. Just like a puzzle piece, if something is missing, our puzzle is not whole. And that's how it is in our church here with all of our members. In your family, you all have a part to play in your family. And if you were not there, the puzzle or your family would not be complete. We would not be able to bring your talents and your love into our families. Okay? So today, I have a puzzle for you guys, but I'm going to take one of them out and I'm going to show it to you. And you're going to find this kind of interesting when I show it to you. I didn't want to lose pieces. So if I take it out carefully, what do you notice about your puzzle?
It's white and you can color it.
You're right. It's empty right now, isn't it? Okay? So when you go home, I want you to think about with your family who is important in your puzzle piece. You're going to put yourself, I hope. Who else would you put color in your puzzle piece? That's for you guys to think about as a family, okay? Who would you be missing if you did not put them in there? Okay? That's your job for this week. And as you go through your week, I want you to think about how important you are in your puzzle and how important everybody else is in your puzzle. Okay? Because I ran out of envelopes. I had to switch colors. Okay? All right. Do you think your sister wants one? All right. Have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you for your continued financial donations. You may give online at maccob@macbrethren.org. That's maccob@macbrethren.org. If you are worshiping with us in person, you may put your gift in the offering box at the back of the sanctuary, or hand deliver your check to the church office. Just push it through the mail slot at the Education Building. If you would like to donate from afar, you may mail your gift to the church office at 200 North Carey Street, McPherson, Kansas 67460, or donate to local needs in your area. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Donna. Our scriptures today are from the letters written by Paul to the emerging churches who were trying to figure out how they were to be in the aftermath of the crucifixion of Jesus. Paul writes to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians, "We are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field. You are God's building." And to the Ephesians, he says, to remind them, because they were fighting, "From God the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, from the whole body grows and builds itself love as each part does its work." We are connected, and that's how we get God's work done. We make connections, we're making connections, because that's how we get God's work done. We are co-laboring with one another because God's work is not meant to be done in isolation. The New Testament uses the concept of synergy, of co-laboring, to describe how the believers unite their efforts to achieve far more than we or any single person could achieve alone. As I look at you and I think about what year you might have been born, I think about that golden era. That era in this country of being a Protestant, of being a Christian, that perfect storm of existence. The United States with a growing population and prosperity because there were well-paying factory jobs where people had great health insurance and pensions and vacation plans. Factory jobs as people transitioned off of the family farm. And the machine of capitalism was accelerated, generating wealth for the middle class. Those generations understood their connections. My children were born on either side of the turn of the century. They're only about 4.5 years apart, and yet the one born on that side has a much different ethos, partly personality, but not entirely, than the one born on this side of the century. Different experiences. Computers, think about the millennial shift. Computers and phones. I will tell you, he got his phone about 6 years before we allowed her to have one. He also got to eat at McDonald's, and she did not when she was little. At that time, denominationalism was surging. Churches were juggernauts. They were programming and spiritual growth and outreach, and Sundays were protected. Wednesdays were protected. Remember when nothing was open on Sunday and you had to cook at home because you couldn't go out? And church was the connection. Church is what people did and how they connected one to another. Their connections were church, their friends were church. They met their future spouse at church. That's why there are generations that have all those double cousins, right? Because if two brothers and a sister met, well, you know, whatever the reverse of that is, it gets me so confused. That's in my dad's family. Because you got in your horse and buggy, and you drove whatever you could drive, 12 miles or whatever to get to the church, and that was your circle of friends. Giving went to the church, time went to the church, talent went to the church, and denominational headquarters were the norm. There were networks of regional support and synods and dioceses and district offices, and that was all very standard. And that church understood connections. That church at that time understood who it was connected to. Remember Sunday schools that had a president and a treasurer and a secretary and their own checkbook? Like so many other Protestant churches, this church had those connections. And they financially supported the college, the seminary, the national office, the district office, the camps, the retirement center, ecumenical agencies. Remember when crop walk was a big thing on Sundays? Everybody, the town, was out doing crop walk. And church world service blankets, church world service kits. Every year we did something, maybe sometimes 3 and 4 times for church world service. And now, for the first time in perhaps a very long time in some of your lives, connections are not so easily understood. Because Protestants, including the Church of the Brethren, we like to think we're special, but including the Church of the Brethren, and their affiliated partners are undergoing, as you know, a major restructuring, driven by deep declines in membership, budget deficits, and widespread institutional shifts towards secularization. This is happening, this decoupling, this disconnecting from traditional connections has resulted in everything you know: shrinking administrative bodies, colleges disaffiliating, the sell-off of regional and national properties. Colleges and seminaries, many of them used to be historically affiliated, Protestant colleges, and they have loosened those ties or severed their formal ties. There are 6 Brethren colleges. Go on the campus of Laverne and ask any student if they knew the roots of Laverne University. Go to North Manchester and ask the same question. Go to Juniata, go to Elizabethtown, go to Bridgewater, go to McPherson College. No more mandatory chapel, no more behavioral codes. Remember having to sign in and out to visit somebody of the opposite sex? How binary is that? And removing denominational representation on their boards, functioning as independent and fully secular institutions. And what about denominational and district offices? Centralized offices have seen massive drop in funding. And this has led to what? You all know it, staff cuts, right? The closure of certain mission agencies. Think about what's happening at the Church of the Brethren site in New Windsor. The physical sale off of headquarters. Sound familiar? Nursing homes, social agencies, many faith-based nursing homes and healthcare networks are dissolving. They have so much to keep track of. Synods and districts and presbyterians no longer are carrying that burden. Healthcare is trying to keep up with regulations and liability, and so they are merging and they are affiliating, and they are becoming parts of a conglomerate. This is not something that's happening out there to the Methodists or the Presbyterians or the Episcopalians. This is happening to all of us. This describes our changing traditional connections, even in large, growing evangelical churches. I know you see Adam Hamilton's signs out there as he runs for Senate, right? The pattern in the United Methodist Church is that the district, in cooperation with other district executives, calls a pastor and places a pastor where they perceive the need is. Traditionally, United Methodist pastors have been moved every 5 to 7 years. It is unusual for a pastor to remain at a United Methodist church for 10 or 12 years. Do you know how long Adam Hamilton has been in Kansas City? Anybody? 27 years. Why? How many sites do they have? 7, 8? What's their Sunday, what's their attendance? 24, 25,000, right? At 7 sites. The judicial structure in the United Methodist Church is not going to tell Adam Hamilton to move in 5 years. If he wins the Senate seat, is he going to stay connected? Do you know? What has he said? What do you know? Yes, absolutely. He is the juggernaut at Resurrection in Kansas City. Not good, not bad, just eyes open wide, folks, right? He is the exception. Most churches in the United States are small, very, very small. Is there a growth in younger people attending church, putting money into church, taking their kids to church? Absolutely. Where are they going? Are they going to small churches or big churches? They're going to big churches. They don't want to be absolutely connected, in other words, every Sunday responsible to be there. They'd like their kids to be in programming. They want to be able to take their kids to the nursery. They want to have small groups. None of that is bad, but don't misconstrue what that is. That is about connections. It's very little about theology for some people. When we have asked you as a congregation, what is it that is important to you? And we ask you, 1.5% consistently of you say, I love church because of the preaching. Over 90% of you say you love church because of community. because of your connections. So hold on to that thought. In the many, many articles I've read about the changing face of how churches connect and with whom they connect, I wanted to share some thought-provoking insights from one article I read last fall from a retired pastor who has spent his life in what is now called the I-35 Highway 81's Port to Prairie Highway. That is the juggernaut, the vertical line through the middle of the United States. And it's only going to keep growing. The Port to Prairie juggernaut. This pastor has spent his whole life in the Great Plains, and that's important because we all know it's different here. We're not the Midwest. Quit calling us the Midwest. That's Ohio and Indiana, right? We are the Great Plains, and people are a little bit different here, right? And that's about calling pastors and about how we are with each other and how we connect with one another. This pastor's name is Mike Turner. He has a Substack. You can look him up. There's a couple of Mike Turners out there, so make sure you look at his Substack. He calls himself retired. You'll find him. Sometimes his reflections are just about common things. The monarch butterfly, he recently talked about the monarch butterfly, and sometimes he dives deeply into theology. Last fall, when he wrote, that article caught my attention because he was talking about connections for local churches. Connections to denomination, district, colleges, seminaries, retirement centers. Our outreach budget goes to the Big Five, almost exclusively to the Big Five. And if you go into the cupboards over in the education building that Janice Friesen, after being here 26 years, left in immaculate shape, you can turn to the minutes in the late 20s, early 30s, when this congregation decided forevermore to support the Big Five. And that has never changed. And you all know the times anybody has tried to make that change here. I liked that Mike Turner referred to the New Testament as his guide. A guide to determine what our call to being connected is all about. And here is some of what he wrote. It's mostly paraphrased. He said, "It is critical to remember that the New Testament recognizes only two dimensions of church life. The first is the universal dimension. This is the full measure of all the saints of all the ages, united under the sovereignty of Jesus. The proper name for this universal dimension is the communion of all saints everywhere." The Apostle John glimpsed this dimension in his vision of eternity. In Revelation chapter 5, verses 9 and 10, John praises the universal work of Jesus. And John anticipates our call to connect to the same work. Jesus was doing universal work, local work, doing it all, and we are to connect each believer in their individual setting with their individual situation and their individual gifts, doing God's work. Universal, the second dimension, of course, is the local dimension. And it consists of individual congregations in a very specific location with a unique calling, like the churches in Jerusalem and Antioch and Ephesus and Corinth and Philippi and all those churches that Paul was writing to encourage in the New Testament. Different churches, different locations, different giftedness, different callings. The church at Antioch is a perfect example in the book of Acts because they were called to mission to Gentiles. Not everybody's called to do that. In the church at Antioch, there were prophets and teachers. There were Barnabas and Simeon. There was Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen, and Manaen's interesting because he was a lifelong friend of Herod. Interesting connection when the church is called to minister to Gentiles. And then, of course, there was Saul. In Acts 13, verses 1 through 3, we read, "While they were worshiping the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said to them, Set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I have called them. So after fasting and praying, they laid their hands on them and they sent them out to do God's work. The New Testament only recognizes the universal church and the local church. Denominations are human-made constructs. Roots in the 16th century, that's not scripture. They accomplish a lot. They keep us together, they keep us on target, they keep us on theme, but they do not rise in importance to the level of the universal and the local. I love that this guy said this. It's this guy, not me, so don't come after me. Churches do not exist to serve denominations. Denominations exist to serve churches. Churches do not exist to serve a diocese, a synod, a mid-council, a regional conference, a district conference. Those mid-level organizations exist to serve the churches. The local church is responsible with God's leading to speak with its own voice and fulfill its own calling. It's no accident that following Jesus' revelation to John about what was to come, Jesus then, the next thing he did was he dictated personal letters to 7 churches, right? Each one as different as Antioch was to Jerusalem. Adam Hamilton's Church of the Resurrection in Greater Kansas City is different from a small town neighborhood Latino church that you can find across Kansas as the face of Kansas changes rapidly to a population that will be half Latino in just a few years. The message Jesus sends to each church is a call to its particular gifts and its particular ministry in its place. If denominations and regional judicatories help those calls instead of hindering that work, then local churches will connect with them and they will work together. If not, as we have seen, when the denomination disconnects, when the diocese disconnects, the synod disconnects, then those relationships fall apart and cease to exist. That's all I'm going to share about him. I hope it piqued your interest. I'm not suggesting that this church stop supporting the denomination, the district, the college, the Cedars, the seminary. That is not what I am saying. I am asking us to pay attention because all 5 of those entities are undergoing great shifts and changes. Changes that are very similar to other Protestant denominations. Here, in Canada, in Australia, in Great Britain, in New Zealand, changes that will absolutely alter how we connect in the future. So this local congregation cannot afford to stick its head in the sand and ignore the conversation in the room. This local congregation has to be brave and intense and have deep conversations about our connections. And we must listen deeply for God's call on our unique giftedness and the work that God is calling us to in this place here and now. This local church must trust that God is big enough to engage with any discussion, any question, any imagining, any dreaming that we might do. This local church must understand that denominationalism and all its structures is a construct of humans. This local church, this Church of the Brethren, who has no creed but the New Testament, must take seriously 2 major connections, one global and one local at the corner of Cary and Euclid. Thank God for the work on the strategic plan, the pillar that says we care about our earth. And we're going to do something concrete about that. And we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And thank God for the disaster on the west side of this church. And I am so grateful that district conference is happening. And I hope it enthuses other congregations who come and look and go, oh, this isn't about now. This is about 100 years from now. This is about not burning fossil fuels. This is about taking advantage of a 30% grant that will come back to the church. This is about those air conditioners, 2 that run this building, so you're comfortable right now, 2 for the sanctuary, 1 for the basement, that had motor problems. In the last 2 weeks, we've had problems on all 3 of those units. 2 years ago, we got a bid on those, $15,000 to replace those units that will not have to be done once the geothermal is in place. This decision is amazing and responsible, and you have stepped up here at the corner of Cary and Euclid. It is something to celebrate and an amazing thing you are doing. There is a New Zealand pastor that I followed for many years. He since passed about 18 months ago. His name was William Livingston Wallace. Some of you who are into hymns may recognize his name. It always says in the hymn credit, William L. Wallace. He liked for people to call him Bill, sometimes Pastor Bill. Bill often said that his work sprung from communicating with fire in my gut and my observations of both the internal and external aspects of the cosmos and God. From an early age, it was noted that Bill was sympathetic to and critical of the church and its connections. In parish life, here's what he said. He found that writing hymns was a more acceptable way of presenting radical thoughts than preaching. Because hymns, he said, allowed his reflections to slide into the mind of people on the back of music. Ain't it true? As a wrap-up, here's a beautiful and powerful text he composed. I don't know that it was ever set to music. I would like to share it because it encapsulates this idea of universal and local connections. It's titled, "Which Me Should I Be, O God?" It was a text he wrote actually asking God in prayer, which me should I be? And then his text is what he hopes God answered. There is only one me that you should be, and that is the self that lies beyond all the fragmentations and distortions. But as yet, you are not fully you. You are an incomplete whole, the seed of what you could become. Do not fret as to which path to wholeness you will choose. Simply rest in my both and, which lies behind and within the either ors. This way is the way of embodied discernment, the local and global connectedness, which enables you to cease worrying about who you are and instead allows you to delight in losing yourself in the intoxication of love for all things, an intoxication which enables you to be the vintage version of yourself, the version that most resembles myself. I pray that we will be unafraid to keep on keeping on, to ask interesting questions with curiosity and love, to actively seek the church universal, to actively seek the church local, to always and foremost, always be seeking the voice and the will of God. May it be so. Amen and amen. Please rise for our sending song. be seated. For our sitting today, I am inviting you to hear the message again as it slides into your mind on the back of music. Together, we are going to sing a cappella 2 verses of new words to an old tune. The tune is "Oh, for a Thousand Tongues to Sing," right? You know that? Oh, for a thousand, da 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 da. If you don't know the tune, it's number 110 in our hymnal. Da, 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 da. The text is AI generated. I'm training my AI best buddy. It speaks about the universal and the church local, and AI with my prompts titled it The Church Universal and Local. Okay, remember, oh, for a thousand tongues, right? Okay, Eric, we're ready for that first verse. I'm only going to share with you 2 verses and ask you to sing with me, so let me see if I can pitch it. Da, 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 da. Okay. The whole of heaven bends to bless the universal throng, while we in local humbleness lift up our earthly song. One glorious head, one saving name, one Spirit's gentle dove, the universal church the same as local hearts find love. We are the universal church. We are the local church. We are God's church. Amen.